What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Mic Check podcast presented by Around the Block Sports Network. It's good to be back. We're in season, joined by Sam as always. Sam, how you doing, buddy?
Matt, it's overreaction week. The Panthers just won. I'm feeling great.
Oh, I wish I could say the same. My Sabres obviously just lost to the Calgary Flames,
Oof.
and they lost at home once again. So that's always a bummer. Seems like that's been an issue over the past couple years, but that's a story for a different time for sure. That being said, though, it is overreaction week
Oh, yeah.
because we're only 2 weeks into the season, and we've got everybody out there on social media to professional NHL media members breaking down what is happening in the NHL. And more often than not, they're already labeling teams as failures and whatnot. So, it's just what happens when a season starts up. And there's quite a bit of teams that are in quote unquote trouble right now or doing very well. So I think it's going to be really important that we break down a couple of those teams, and then we'll venture off and list some unknowns or just teams we want to talk about. But we have two teams in mind that we were talking about this week, and I think we're going to start off with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa, obviously, they should be a good team. They're a veteran-heavy team. They have a great coaching staff there. And it seems like, yes, they've gone through their era of getting to the cup final every single year, or at least the conference final. But it seems like now it's a little bit harder than usual. But like I said, being a veteran heavy team, they should still be on top of the league. What are your thoughts?
Well, when I look at this team, I see a reliance on some guys, some more youth players, guys like Stamkos starting to age out at the time where the regular season means a lot. Same with Kucherov. I think for this team as a whole, Hedman's another one. It's just more about the playoffs at this point. And without Vasi in the net, you start to see this team really not play as hard as they should, not play up to their talent. You have guys like Brendan Hagel, who's playing well, very well so far earlier in the year. He's taking on probably a bigger role than he should, right? He's been by far the best skater, or I should say forward, so far on this season. And as good as Brendan Hagel is, he cannot be your top scorer at this point. So when I look at Tampa, I see a team that's kind of just trying to buy time right now. But I got to be honest, I don't love the vibes for them this year.
I mean, I'm going to kind of disagree on that, and just because of how early it is. Okay, so if you look at the way they start off the season. They've won their home games. I mean, they've only had one home game so far, and they played a bad team. So obviously, start of the season in Tampa, expectations are high. They're going to get that dub off the start. But moving on, they go 2-1 on the road. And here's the thing. They played the Red Wings, and that's another team that we're going to talk about a little bit here. They're a team that's, yes, a lot of people are saying they're making the flip. They're turning the corner on a team that's been rebuilding for a long time now. Seems like they got the right management there, and the team that's especially buying a lot in the offseason, in trades. They're the ones that are stacking up, not necessarily going the whole young route of taking all their draft capital and investing and taking their time. They want to be good now. So that being said, this new Red Wings team, they're off to a hot start, and Tampa Bay loses to them. After that, they go to the Senators, and they lose against the Senators. That's a really good young team coming up. Not a lot of people are talking about the Ottawa Senators and the acquisitions they've made over the past couple of years. And I think that they're a young team, and they've got a tremendous captain there in Brady Tkachuk that is turning the program around bit by bit. Not saying they're going to be a team that's going to go out and make the playoffs, but a team that is in position to make a hot start to get into this season. And then they lose to the Sabres. And let's remember, they were down to the Sabres 2-0 in this game and brought it back. They tied it with, 7 seconds left in the game. I believe Hagel had two goals in that game alone. So, yeah, it was all one player that entire game, basically. But they did enough, and unfortunately wasn't able to capitalize in overtime, Dylan Cousins was able to score and get the Sabres their first win. So that being said, I look at the game so far. To me, it doesn't seem as crazy. I haven't checked and see if they beat Vancouver yet tonight.
They did beat Vancouver.
They did beat Vancouver. Okay, so that's huge itself. It seems like they're already kind of, they're mid pack right now according to standings.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the score of that game was? Or
4-3, but it was not as close as
4-3,
Yes,
and
it was pretty dominant from the Lightning.
Let's see. I mean, if you got a dominant game right there, that's a game you should win. I mean, especially a team like Vancouver who gets rid of Bo Horvat, and has gotten rid of their key players, and they're a team that's not ready yet to make a leap.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of team Tampa Bay is supposed to beat, and it came out they did. So I'm not too worried about Tampa Bay yet. Obviously, this is the one thing, they are probably in the hardest division in hockey. So that is going to be the true ultimate test, is when they get those division games going. That's when it's going to come down to, okay, is this team still the team we've seen in the past or not?
Sure, and you can lay out all the reasons why you could write off on any of these concerns, right? Vasilevsky's still out. This is a veteran team. They don't really care. They get slow starts all the time. But when I look at what made them special over the last few years, it was incredible depth for one, and stars coming to play. And then if you could get a chance on them, Vasilevsky was in the net. Yeah. And I think what we saw last year was an over-reliance on Andrei Vasilevsky, and the depth. This is just what happens in the cap era. You bleed depth. They've lost so many middle six wingers, top four defensemen for the past few years. You think about Palat, and then Lauren left this offseason. Like, these guys these are the guys that separate the great teams from the cup contenders, right? And so when I look at Tampa, I think, yeah, you know what? Their star players will probably play better. And they'll come to play, and Vasilevsky will help. But I do not see a team that's as equipped as they were in years past.
Yeah, I can see that. But, I mean, back to my argument, though, this is a team that's obviously it's important to have a hot start and just be consistent throughout this league, especially for an 82-game season. But just for how veteran heavy they are, I feel like they're comfortable enough where if this is their bad part of the month, they're able to overcome it, even with the depth situation. Obviously, the other night, like I said, when they played the Sabres too, I believe they were without Steven Stamkos. So, look, you get one of their best players out of the ice. They don't have Vasilevsky in there, and they still found a way to get a point on the road. That to me shows that this team is capable of being in every single game. Now it's going to be a little bit different where if they get into some of these hot younger teams that can skate around them, yeah, it may not go their way. I still think this team is going to be on the right track, though.
I look at what they've done so far, and they're getting outplayed. It's not just finishing a little rough around the edges. They've been outplayed. They only have a 44% expected goals, and their shooting percentage is relatively high. It's up at 10%. So it's not a factor that's going to be corrected. It's not just some luck, some rust, some finer details that get sorted out. This is like a flaw, and they're just kind of hoping and waiting. I don't know.
Yeah,
Tampa like to not be able to fix things on the fly.
I wish I was in, their shoes right now as a Sabres fan, just because the way I look at it, I guess for a team that's been good for a long time, is they win the ugly ones. They get points out of the ugly ones. Even if the start, like I said, first half of the month of the new season, if they're not looking to what their standard normally is, I don't think they're worrying about it. I don't think they're going to panic. They're going to find ways. I know your top guys like Braden Point is going to come around, start producing at a high level. Obviously, Kucherov, one of the best in the league. To me, they just have too much superstar power on that team, even though they don't have the depth, that they are going to be able to just cruise by and be fine. Obviously, bigger games, and when it comes to final standings, I think other teams will get them. They're going to be a playoff team, though.
We'll see about that.
We'll see. We'll see. That being said, a team that hasn't been in the playoffs in a long time is the Detroit Red Wings. And man, they are off to a hot start. Really, really hot start. Obviously, opening night, anything can happen. First game of the year, getting the crowd into it, whatever it may be, and they take a loss to the New Jersey Devils, a team that was pretty good last year, right? Took some serious strides. But after that, 3-0. 3-0. They played Tampa, like we talked about. It was not doing great right now. I still have faith in them. Yeah, that's a big win for a Detroit Red Wings team that has
Mhm.
had not a lot of success in the past. And for a team, like I said, that invests so much in trades and signing free agents, you expect success immediately. If you're going to go the other route and draft and wait and just have these young kids come up and slowly take it over, yeah, there's going to be some bumps in the road and it's going to take a while. But when you go out and you're spending, I'd expect there to be some really good results early on. And so far, they've gotten that. I mean, I could mention, what is it, JT Comfort, like great guy to have on your team there, great pickup. And they go on and play Columbus Blue Jackets after that, a team that struggled for a long time, get a win there. And then they beat up on a Pittsburgh Penguins team that's just, yeah, kind of like Tampa, but they don't have the recent cup wins and players besides their top three guys.
Yeah, and they made some good moves in the offseason, right? They brought in DeBrincat, who's been awesome. And
Yeah.
we'll talk about him in a bit, I'm sure. They bring in Jeff Petrie, who is on the backstage of his career for sure, but a veteran presence on the blue line, I think definitely still has a lot to offer at this stage. They've made some moves. I still think this is a flash in the pan. This is Alex DeBrincat being awesome, and the rest of the Red Wings just being carried by him, right? He's a 2 point per game player through 4 games. He has 8 points right now
Yep.
through these first 4 games. He's been stellar. That is not something I expect to continue. As good as he is, I mean, we saw last year in Ottawa was a down year for him. I don't see this level of production sustaining. Obviously, not 2 points per game, but I don't think he can be your best player offensively, right? Mo Sider on the blue line, he's been very good, very reliable this year. And Jake Wallman, we know as his new partner, they believe in him. I don't think his defense besides that is up to snuff, right? You have Ben Sherrod still playing a lot of ice time. That's concerning to me. And I just think that their prospects, who they believe in, Lucas Raymond for one, I don't see them making the leap this year. And so for me, I see this as a young team that's out of the gates hot and is going to flounder very soon.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. As much as they have gotten off to a hot start, and it just seems like the pieces are working right now. And
Mm-hmm.
like I mentioned, they've brought in the right guys. I mean, obviously the Alex DeBrincat, that's great because of his young potential he's got going on. But like I mentioned, JT Comfort, I mean, bringing
Yeah.
him in, he's a cup winner. I
Yep.
mean, he's experienced. He's been in a really good locker room, and he's bringing that to Detroit. I think that's exactly what Yzerman was looking for, and he went out there and did it. But
Mm-hmm.
just also like on your defensive core too, you got some solid guys in there. I mean, obviously your Gossespierre is going to be towards the bottom of your lineup. He's great though. He's a great locker room guy to have, and I think they're slowly
Right.
leveling things out here
Mm-hmm.
with everybody on that team, in the fact of how many young guys they have and how many veteran guys they got. It's almost so evenly distributed throughout this locker room. I think they're going to be a team that's, in the playoff hunt, but they don't have the firepower to overcome some of the big teams. And once again, they are in one of the hardest divisions in all of
That's the
hockey right
thing.
now. And I don't think they're ready for those big games. The only things I will mention, and we've kind of talked about it, is a guy like Dylan Larkin. Obviously, he's been the guy in Detroit for years and years and years. All the pressure goes on Dylan Larkin, especially if you're going to be the captain. Adding DeBrincat to that line is going to take so much weight off of his shoulders, and he can open up and look at different plays, different strides, and different game plans for each and every single lineup in every game they have throughout the season. So I think a little bit pressure off of Dylan Larkin is going to make this team at ease when they go out and play games, at least. like I said, I don't think they're going to be a team that's going to shock you and go over the expectation to become a playoff team immediately. I think they'll be in the playoff hunt, though.
I'll say this: if there's any team of the teams in the Atlantic that will steal a playoff spot from the Big Four, I would put them ahead of Ottawa. Not, I would
You
still say,
really?
Buffalo is the best chance of any of those young teams, but
Yeah,
they're better than Ottawa, I think, for sure.
yeah, and I'd have to look into Ottawa a little bit more. I need a couple more games from them. I need to see first before I can really
Mhm.
go out. Obviously, these are way too early predictions, guys. It's what we do here on the show. But
It's overreaction
I,
week. Come on.
I mean, hey, come on, we can all dream here. If you really do look at that division, it seems to me we've gotten to a point where your bottom two teams can have a great season,
Yeah,
a really great season.
maybe not Montreal.
It's maybe not Montreal. Let's go bottom three. But
Yeah.
like they can have a very successful season. They can maybe even get better in their points per game, whatever it may be. It's just the fact that you have to run through a gauntlet of just teams that have been going at conference finals for years and years and years. And having that type of competition, yeah, even if you're coming up and you're making you're a team like Detroit that's trying to make trades here and there, unless you get your two superstars that just can take over a game at any point in time, you're going to be mid-pack, and that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Obviously, you look at Buffalo right now. They're probably, I think they're the youngest team in the league again this year. They're struggling early. Yeah, I think they're going to be able to turn it around and start winning some games here. They'll be a team in the hunt. I mean, they only missed it by a point last year, but the whole division got better. So the way I look at it, I think at the end of the day, Detroit, yes, they have an opportunity, but they have to play perfect hockey down the stretch. I think they'll be a team that's going to be in the hunt. Tampa, I think they're good enough and they've been good enough to sneak into the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to go out and win the division. They're not going to be a top 2 seed. They may be wild card this year, which is fine. But like the Panthers last year, if you get in as an 8 seed, you're still in it.
Get in, you
Doesn't
have a
mean
chance. That's
doesn't
hockey.
mean you're done. And man, to get a team like Tampa as an 8 seed and get that veteran
Oh
presence
my God.
all pissed off, are you kidding me? I'd love that. I'd
Can you
love
imagine the
that.
Wednesday that has to face the Tampa Bay Lightning in round one? I'd be fuming.
I mean, hey, that's why they play the games. But realistically, so far, I've just seen a lot of competition throughout the Atlantic in the Eastern Conference. I want to get your opinion, though.
Mhm.
What's going on with Seattle?
That's a great question. I
And
think what you come down to depends on how you view last year, right?
yeah,
Because last year, you look at this team, they were a surprise for sure. They were definitely better early out of the gate than anyone expected, and they did so in a way that was very unusual, right? They didn't get a good goaltending. Their goaltending was pretty subpar, and they didn't even have a star player, right? Everyone was in that 50 to 40 point range throughout the lineup.
yep,
But do you look at that and say, well, that was a weird year. They'll come back down to earth and be just an average team? Or do you look at that and say, no, that was sustainable. This is just a slow start. And I think I lean towards this is just a slow start. I look at Seattle, right? There's so much depth on that team. That depth didn't go anywhere, and their young players are only getting better. Matty Beniers, another year in the league, is going to be huge for him. If they can just get some resemblance of goaltending, if Philip Grubauer can just like find a little bit left, they'll be okay. They'll be fine. But right now, I mean, I think you can only get away with bad goaltending for so long, is the way I see it.
yeah. Here's my thing. I think I'm really nervous for Seattle Kraken fans. I mean, obviously, you shouldn't be that upset. You're a brand new team. Obviously, you've made the playoffs pretty early in your career. But at the end of the day, you're going to go through some tough times here in the NHL. It's just how it works. Them being 0-4 right now,
Mm-hmm.
They lost to the Golden Knights, Stanley Cup champions. I mean, that's going to be a hard win to get. They're raising a banner. That's just, it's a hard environment.
Yeah.
They lose to the Nashville Predators on the road. Okay, it's hard to play in Smashville. We all get that, but Predators aren't that good either this year so far. So far. They lose to the Blues. They lose to the Blues on the road. So they've had 2 road games there, not looking great. They go back to Seattle and they get the Colorado Avalanche, and we all know they're a regular season team. They do very well. They really haven't lost a ton of key pieces in Colorado. So yeah, that's a hard schedule to start off with. The thing for me though is the schedule gets even harder over the next
Mm-hmm.
4 games. Right now they're playing against the Hurricanes, great regular season team, as we all know. That's going to be a very hard matchup. I believe it's 0-0. Game just started not too long ago. But after that, they get the New York Rangers. They go to Detroit. Then they go back to Carolina. If this team doesn't get some wins here, we could be looking at a team that possibly starts like 1-7 on the season. And that's insane for a team that went to the playoffs last year.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just some bad luck. I mean, their goaltending hasn't been terrible so far this year. Grubauer's been okay, but
Yeah.
they're just getting no offense.
Nothing.
Right? I mean, how many goals have they scored throughout this first 4 games? Like,
I mean, they got shut out by the Predators, so it's not a ton of production going on there. I think they got 3 goals. They got 3 goals so far.
yeah. I mean, they got shut out by the Predators, 1 on Vegas, 1 in a shootout to St. Louis, and then 1 to Colorado.
Yeah,
That's the crux of their problem. You're just not generating enough offense. And I think if you look at the underlying numbers, they're doing okay, right? It's like middle of the road. So maybe that bounces back a little, but I think for Matty Benier, 0 points so far through 4 games. You got to step it up, and I believe in them. I do. It's one of those things that can get so frustrating for a team early in the years, a young team as well. So it could spiral the season, and that's a
absolutely.
concern. Maybe if they don't turn it around fast, it starts to derail them and it becomes one of those season from hell.
Yeah. See, I think that's a great point you bring up right there. A young team, if they get off to a slow start, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
They are in trouble. That's why I kind of tie back to my take on Tampa Bay. I'm not worried about them right now. They've got the veteran presence there. They've been through this before. All it takes is one good rivalry game for them to really get up and going, get the blood pumping, start playing some good hits out there. They got the guys to do it too. And so, I mean, Seattle does too. What did we say all of last year? Seattle is a physical team to play against. Yeah. It seems like they haven't had that physical game where they've just dominated yet. So I think that's really got to be putting them down in the dumps right now. The fact that they haven't had that matchup yet. And like I said, with the schedule they have coming up, it is just a gauntlet to go through, and they need to come up with something fast, because if they don't, like you said, for them being a young team, they might sink right to the bottom.
Do you think a coaching change is possible?
I don't think this early, just because of the success they had last year and for how young of a team it is. I mean, you can't go out with these young guys and tell them as a GM, be like, hey, we're getting rid of the coach here because nothing's happening. That would just put your team into shambles, I believe. And a team very much like them in the, how young they are, is the Sabres. Same thing. I don't think people are going to go out and say, let's fire Don Granato tomorrow. Obviously, there's been a ton of lack of effort in their game so far, and it seems like they've been lost at moments. It's early in the season, guys. I'd rather have these teams right now struggle, but ultimately get those couple games, get those couple of rivalry games early, just so that they get back on their toes, and then next thing you know, they're in a different groove.
Just for argument's sake, I pulled up the odds for first coach fired. Dave Haxtell is second in Seattle, right behind
who's first?
Keefe.
Oh man,
Toronto, it's always going to be first, right?
It's got to be, right?
Perpetually on the hot seat in there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't think it's necessary. I think it would actually be a negative thing if they went out and fired a coach and had to bring in an interim guy that fast.
Yeah,
That'd
all
be
you gotta
insane
do.
for way too young of a team. If it was, I don't know, give me a team that it would make sense to fire. Uh,
Toronto.
yeah, anytime in the season, you
Now
can go fire
maybe
somebody from Toronto.
maybe New Jersey. I could see Lindy Ruff.
I could
Yeah,
see New Jersey.
if they start off slow, they might really need to compete.
This is a little bit of a bold one, I guess,
Mhm.
but I don't know if I want
Say it.
Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's such an interesting idea because I know
Mike Sullivan, dude. I mean,
they love Mike
you
Sullivan, but
love Mike Sullivan.
yeah,
Obviously, he's had success in the past. That doesn't mean you need to keep him on, though.
it's interesting.
It does, and I mean, once again, a team that went out and invested once again into some veteran presence, and you getting Eric Carlson. I mean, come on,
They have illusions of competing for sure.
they do. You still got Sidney Crosby. Obviously, Malkin isn't the speedster and the most physical
Still looks
guy.
good, man.
He's still good.
Looks
He's still
good.
good, but I mean, to me, his style of game is slowly leaving the NHL. I think
It's a shame.
it is too. I know. It's getting weird and bizarre, but that's just where we're at right now. But no, I think if Pittsburgh starts to, you know, they're cruising below 500 through the next 3 weeks. Why aren't you getting more? I mean, come on. You have Crosby, you have Letang, you have Carlson, you have all these guys. It's what are we doing?
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I could see it happening.
I mean, at the end of the day, who's the Kings coach? Who am I thinking of? Sutter, right?
Sutter, yeah.
Look at him. He was fired multiple times. Is he in Calgary still, right?
No, they fired him.
Oh, that's right. Is he anywhere right now? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No. I mean, obviously, he's old as shit, too. So,
yeah,
you don't even need him behind a bench. But, I mean,
yeah.
like, the Kings went on their run. They did their thing. They won a couple, and they had to move on. It's what happens in this business nowadays. I think Sullivan's a guy that could easily go, especially if they don't get production. And because Crosby's just getting older and older and older. He's in the back of his head, he wants one more attempt at getting to a cup final. So that's a team that's fighting through a gauntlet of all these young guys and getting to a conference championship. I don't think Sullivan's going to get him there.
Yeah. There's just so much goodwill built up with those 2 cups.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. It's hard to be, as soon as you get that immediate success, especially back-to-back years. Obviously, that's typically the time where you get that lifetime contract.
Yeah,
but you're prepared to be playing mediocre hockey for the next couple of years when you lose your guys.
I mean, honestly, that's going to be Crosby's decision either way. If he wants him gone, he's gone. If he wants him to stay, he's staying.
I agree.
Great topic for overreaction weekend.
Absolutely. Anything else you got on overreaction weekend?
Who do you think is going to win Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the Year. Oh,
there's that Bedard guy. I mean, he's pretty good, but maybe someone else.
Rookie of the Year. I don't think he's going to get it. He's unbelievable, dude. I literally watch him, and it seems like he just does not fear anybody on that ice. And most rookies you get that come up, they don't want to hold on to the puck. They don't want to be the center of attention. Even some first overall picks in the past 5 years, they were like that. They were like, okay, when it's my time to go on the ice, if I'm an offensive player, I'm going to wait for my moment to go and shoot and score, maybe make a pass. If I'm entering the zone, whatever it may be, I'm getting rid of the puck as soon as possible. I'm going old school hockey. I'm playing dump and chase. That's what I need to do. This kid does not do that at all. I've never seen, and especially for his size too, like there are some big boys in this league now, especially height-wise, and he's not necessarily the tallest guy out there, but he plays like he's 6'4".
Yeah, no. He's built for this, and that's been the most impressive thing for me so far is for all the hype for an 18-year-old, he's done great. He's done really, really good dealing with the expectations and not having the moment be too big for him. But
no, I 100% agree, and
yeah,
I think he the one thing I've been impressed about, and this is obviously off the ice stuff, is how well he is media trained wise, and just how much media. I mean, honestly,
do they take a
it,
class for that? I mean, they're
dude,
all.
I think if I remember, even when McDavid was taken, it seemed like it took him a little bit to get used to talking to the media.
Mhm.
Dude, this guy's got moxie. Like literally just handling it all and reporters asking them weird questions. He's giving them eyes like, why would you ask that? Like it's like he's been there for 5 years already.
Like he's very nice, very
Yeah.
nice.
I love the moxie from the kid. It's
Mm,
great. It's great. It's great. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got here for overreaction. First 2 weeks into the season. It's been great though. It's good to see hockey back on,
so good.
and I'm just waiting for those big rivalry games to start coming in here
Oh
and
man, I'm so
really, get your solid first 2 weeks out of the way, get the boys back and used to being on the road and whatnot, and we starting to get into rivalry week, and man, that's when it comes out.
that's when we get it going for real.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this first show here, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Leave comments, subscribe to our channel here. We'd love to talk and, intertwine with you guys. But we'll see you next time. We'll be doing shows on Mondays and Thursdays. So until next time,
See you
be good,
guys.
everyone.